My end goal now is I want to be able to help other people, and I want to be able to provide assistance to the people that are dealing with what I've dealt with, or even worse than what I've dealt with, or even smaller than what I've dealt with. You know, it doesn't matter how big, small it is. I want to be able to help people.
This is the Adventure Sports Podcast, where we talk to athletes, adventurers, and business owners from around the world of adventure sports. Whether you're climbing Mount Everest, starting a bike shop, or getting up off your couch to take your kids hiking for the first time, we want you to have the motivation and inspiration you need to chase that next adventure. The Adventure Sports Podcast is brought to you by Camp Crate, the leaders in fully planned self-guided backpacking adventures, as well as backpacking gear rental. You can check them out at campcrate.net. Today's episode is Daniel Hurd. He'll tell you more about his story, but he is a veteran. He suffers from depression and had some attempted suicides that thankfully failed, and his friend turned him on to bicycles, and that totally changed his life. And now he is riding his bike around the country to 48 states, trying to promote suicide awareness, as well as getting veterans the help they need and anyone the help they need. So if you're someone in need, we encourage you to find somebody you talk to. But the episode will be talking about that, just to let you know. If you're sensitive to that, please be cautious. But if you need help, please call someone. The suicide prevention hotline will be in the show notes. But enjoy the episode and have a great week. All right, so hey everybody, welcome to the show. Today I have Daniel Hurd. He is, I bike tour, but he's doing a crazy bike tour. He's riding to the lower 48 states, riding to every single of the 48 states for suicide awareness. You can follow him at ridewithdanusa.com. But Daniel, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I know you already told me this, but where are you coming from today?
Well, today I'm in Savannah, Georgia. I got here yesterday. Literally just over 8 months on the road and just over 6,000 miles to get here.
Holy cow. So 8 months. Dang. So where'd you start?
Started in Plymouth, Massachusetts on March 5th.
Wow. And what has the route been like from Massachusetts? Because it ain't 6,000 miles to Savannah.
No, it's not. Well, something about my journey is it's not the most efficient route. It's more I'm a veteran, so I wanted to really kind of see a lot of my veteran friends and people that I served with. And, so I started plotting where they lived, and it ended up being like 32 states or something like that. And to get to them, it was like 40 states to go through them. So I just added the rest of it.
So have you been able to see people along the way like you planned?
Yeah, I actually saw one of my veteran friends this morning. It was great. I haven't seen him since 2010, so it was really great. On top of it, again, I'm actually staying with a high school friend here in Savannah. So getting to enjoy Thanksgiving with as close as family as I possibly can, and it's kind of an interesting thing. So my nickname, it's been Lieutenant Dan since I got out of the military. I wasn't a lieutenant. I wasn't at all, so I don't take credit for that portion. But I was an E5, but this part of this journey is kind of, a lot of people think of Forrest Gump because, I'm kind of doing something pretty epic like he did. Doing it on a bicycle kind of relates more to me being as Lieutenant Dan, and it's really kind of just healing my own self, kind of like what he was doing. He just kind of ran until he figured out his own life and what path he needed. I'm doing the same thing with a bicycle. That's the only difference.
Yeah. So what are you doing and why?
So I'm bicycling all 48 states. My goal is to do 25,000 miles in the course of 3 years. And it's going to be a continuous 3 years. It's not like I'm going to take breaks or, do segments at a time. I'm doing it the entire time. I stop where I am and I'll take time off there just to kind of recoup, but I continue on from that. The goal is, again, to do all 48 states, but I'm doing it for suicide awareness. And the reason why I'm doing that, I've attempted suicide 3 times in my own life. The last one being April of 2017. So it's very home to me. I've also lost a lot of friends and people that I've known over the years to suicide. So it hits home really well for me. And When I started this project, I actually just told everybody it was to visit veteran friends, but really deep down, it was for this cause. And the more I got comfortable with what I was doing, the more I was willing to talk about it. And the more I talk about it, I realize a lot more people are actually willing to listen. And the more I tell people my story, the more I heal, which helps people understand that there's other people like them. So really, it's we're all healing together, and it's really a cool project.
Yeah, no kidding. And the fact that you're doing it so openly, have you found that to be even more helpful than just, being open about it before? Now you're on a project where it's basically what you have to talk about every day.
Yeah, I actually, it's kind of funny when I plan out my day for the routes and which way I'm going to go. I actually have to accommodate about 2 to 3 hours a day for people to stop and talk to me. People pull over on the side of the road. People come running out of their house to see what's this guy bicycling. They've never seen tourist bicycles in certain areas where I've ridden. So, I have to stop and I talk to them for 15, 20 minutes, sometimes longer. It's really gets an awesome point because I get to like interact with a lot of people and get to see that there's still a lot of good people in this world. But unfortunately, a lot of media doesn't portray all the time. So
Now, did you know that, or are you learning that on the bike that there's a lot of kind people?
I'm honestly learned that while I've been on this trip, and when I first started this, I'm part of my journey is I'm actually doing it with no savings, and the reason why I'm doing that is to show people that we can survive with the basic needs of life, which is what I carry on my bicycle. I carry about 150 pounds of gear on my bicycle with me, and I do that, and I do it with no savings to show people that you don't have to have a luxurious thing to be able to enjoy the area around us, especially in the United States. We have so many different landscapes and options here that people think you have to be rich and be able to travel, but really you don't have to do that. I've been doing it for 8 months with literally I left with my last paycheck, which was $400.
Dude, that is crazy. That is awesome. Man, I know they're cheap because I that's what I do, man. I love bike touring, but I've never done it without any savings. But that's a lot of weight to carry too, man. You must have you got everything you need.
Yeah, I literally when I started this, my bike was actually heavier than it is now.
Dang.
But I had literally spare tires, spare gearing system, chains. Had pedals. I had literally everything I thought I would need, other than a frame and a couple like the wheels and stuff like that. Like I had everything I possibly could think of before I left, and just went with it. And so
Dang.
far, it's been amazing. It's established so much more confidence in myself as a person and in humanity. Because when I started this project, I literally thought that I was going to die of starvation or being robbed or something.
I try to think back when I had never done one. Every scenario goes through your head, but dude, it's an awesome way to see the country. It's an awesome way to raise awareness for something. It's probably my favorite way to travel.
Oh, it absolutely is now. I gave up my Harley and everything I own to do it on a bicycle. So that's how much I love this bicycle, and the bicycle literally changed my life. So I've only been bicycling since July of last year, and this is technically my first tour.
Dang, that's crazy. So yeah, so why the bicycle? Why'd you choose that instead of maybe doing like a motorcycle ride or something?
Well, for the longest time, since I was a teenager, I've rode dirt bikes. I went transitioned to street bikes, and then I switched over to cruisers, and anything with a motor, I rode it. And I always called it my therapy session. And my best friend, believe it or not, had tried for almost 5 years, literally almost 5 years, to get me to go ride with him on a bicycle. And I was immediately always shut down to be like, bro, like I'm not getting on a bike. I'm on a motorcycle. I'll meet you there. And I just shut it down for so long. And then after I got out of the hospital, I was kind of already planning my fourth attempt. I was kind of hanging out with people, kind of getting back into the routine of life, but at the same time, I was still stuck in my own head and my own thoughts. And finally, after years, my buddy finally got me on a bicycle. And at first I was just like, oh, this is fun, but I don't like it that much. It didn't really have that effect that the fact that it has now on me. It really kind of took a few times. He made me keep going with him, and until I fell in love with it. Like I literally got to a point where I'd be bugging him to go ride his bicycle, and he'd be like, "We're not riding today. Like I'm busy." I went and bought my own bicycle. I started riding on my own, and then I started doing like little trips, like weekend warrior stuff to go to like from Massachusetts. I'd go to New Hampshire to Rhode Island or do like a 150-mile loop or something. So
Yeah, I guess it's the physical activity. It's
yeah.
peaceful because it's quiet, for the most part, and yeah, you just feel so good afterwards. Yeah, man, that's so cool.
So yeah, it's all that and like the fact that you feel accomplished regardless of how far you get. There's days where I'm discouraged, but like I rode 15 miles on my hardest day so far. It did 15 miles in 5 hours. It was the hardest day of my entire trip to this date.
Oh
But
man.
I felt really discouraged like most of the day. But by the end of the day, where I made it and set up my camp for the night, I just kind of reflected on what I just did. I just climbed a mountain to get onto the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yeah, yeah, and I bet the day after that was awesome.
Yeah, usually on the Blue Ridge, I was doing about 40 to 50 miles a day in a
Wow.
5 hour period. And again, I did 15 in 5 hours that one day, so it was better. I was in a better mode, but it was still very, very difficult. And I tell everybody all the time is I'm just a regular guy doing something epic. It's not that I'm epic. I'm just a normal guy, and I'm still new into cycling it, and that's kind of it.
So has riding the bike on this journey, has it helped you mentally?
Oh, absolutely. I tell people all the time now, I am in the best physical and mental state of my life. I've lost over 100 pounds of weight too. So like,
What?
that,
100
yeah.
pounds? Dang. Holy cow.
So last April, when I did my suicide attempt in the hospital, I was about 268 pounds. And when I started bicycling, I was about 240. When I left for this trip, I was about 190. I got down to about 130 before I decided instead of being restrictive on my diet, I just started eating anything and everything I could. And I'm averaging about 155 now.
Wow. And how does that feel?
I feel more confident in my own appearance. I wasn't one of those fat guys where I filled in. Like I look stocky instead of
Mm,
like just
okay.
just fat. So, but I always had self-confidence issues. Now I really don't have that issue, and which helps with my depressional portion because I still deal with long-term depression. I'm not a perfect person. I still deal with it, but I've learned how to cope with it better. I've learned how to
Yeah.
stay more positive. At the end of the day, I think of all the positive things that I did that day, even if it was the worst day I've ever had. Like there's days on my social media where I do my little daily video updates that people see me and I'm drained and just hurting and just feel like I want to give up. But every night I literally just sit there and like, what did I do good today? What progress did I make? And anytime I start getting too far down, somebody shows up and that is about to commit suicide, and I happen to cross their path or they reach out to me. I've had 44 people now call me or been in my path, 8 of them in my path, that were on their way to commit suicide, and they happen to come across my page or come across me on my bicycle in the moments that they needed somebody the most.
No kidding, man. 44 people.
And that's crazy to me. Like I
Yeah.
started this project for myself, never mind anybody else. But I'm very thankful that I've survived my own attempts, and I'm thankful that I have this opportunity to be healing my own self, but at the same time helping others realize that there's more than what they're in their own heads about.
Dang, man, that is crazy. That blows my mind that many people have already reached out, and dude, that makes everything worth it. That's got to.
It absolutely does. And, people ask me all the time, like, what happens if you give up or anything like that? Or what happens if you get bored with it? At this very moment, I can't. Like, not that these people are relying on me to stay alive, but, they motivate me to keep going because I'm motivating them to stay living.
What does that feel like? Is that a lot of pressure?
At first it kind of was. I cried a lot. I was kind of trying to adjust to my own emotions. I was never really a crier too much. But in the last like 3 or 4 months, I cry a lot more, and it's not sad crying or depressed crying. It's like joyful crying. Like
Mm.
I just start like being happy and joyful and I start crying. It's good to release those sometimes. So, it works for me. And I feel privileged to be able to have this opportunity, and I hope that I have the opportunity to help more along the way. I'm only in state number 17 out of 48. I got a long ways to go, so that means there's potential for a lot more people that I could help in the way, and that's kind of what keeps me going now.
That's really inspiring. Please, dude, keep going. What's been one of your hardest days?
Well, definitely that, like overall, like on a riding day, definitely the day I did 15 miles, and that was to get the Meadows there in Virginia. Like I said, I did 15 miles. I climbed about 3,000 feet on a 9% grade, with 150 pounds of gear, and
Yeah, that's tough.
yeah, it's a slow process, and there's a lot of times where I just wanted to literally drop my bike and just walk away from it, and then somebody from that lived on the hill, this hill that I was climbing, would come out and be like, "Man, I've never seen anybody climb this hill," which would motivate me to keep going because that was my sign that I was doing something that I needed to do and I needed to keep going type thing. That's probably been the hardest day. There's been a lot of other harder days. I had a gentleman that in New York, he was on his way to go hang himself, and he was on his bicycle, and I was coming up behind him, and I caught up to him, and he started venting to me about what was going on, and I spent an hour and a half with him to change his thought process, and we went and got him the help that he needed. But that was emotionally my hardest day.
What, dude? This is crazy. You were right there when that guy needed you. That's nuts.
Yeah, up until that very moment, the people that I had dealt with before that, I thought it was coincidence that I was in their path when they were on their moments. I didn't think much of it, but since that one moment in New York, I don't believe in coincidence anymore. I believe that I put in this path to cross these people at those times, and it's really established the Lord into my life. I wasn't really ever religious, and I'm still kind of learning it, but that's kind of something that's happened while I've been on this journey where I didn't have it before.
What do you think about this journey has inspired you to be religious? Did you meet someone that told you about that, or did you read something?
Well, it was more so just the people that I've come across just over the time. Like I said, I'm still kind of trying to figure it all out in my own head, but it's definitely a stronger connection than I've ever been in my entire life. But it wasn't one in particular person. It was like so many people just over time, and just certain things that would happen. Like I wouldn't make it to where I wanted to for my checkpoint, but somebody would come out of nowhere and offer me a place to stay that just happened to look over their shoulder and see me crossing the road. So they would run out and come and get me type thing. So, it's stuff like that. I've been very blessed in the sense of I haven't had really any negativity involving my trip for the most part. I've been hit a couple times, but nothing significant. I haven't had any serious injuries. But I feel like I'm being guided in a sense. So I definitely feel like this journey, where even though I started for myself, it's a lot bigger than me.
That's really cool, man. That's really cool. Have you, I know you've shared some really positive experiences so far, but what's been something else, like a story that was really, really memorable or a really good day that you had?
Well, that's a hard one. That's because, every day is a great day as long as
Yeah.
I make progress. But, just the people in general, not anybody in particular. I guess if it had to be one in particular event, I met some great people in Albany, New York, and I ended up staying with them in Buffalo, New York, where they lived. And, I spent like 5 days there. They treated me like family. We still keep in touch regularly. And, those are the moments that I look forward to because, all these people that I'm meeting and all the people I'm crossing paths with, I'm building friendships. I'm building a network so that people, reach out to me if they need help and vice versa. If I need help, I have all these new people that I never had in my network before that, when I felt alone. So now I know I'm not alone, and it reestablishes in my own head that I'm okay and I can keep going. And that's pretty much about it, I guess.
The bike does that, man. You connect with people. You just build these, you feel like the whole world, or right now the whole country is kind of like someone's going to have your back somewhere, anywhere you go.
Exactly.
You're going to find someone that'll be watching out for you.
Exactly, and there's always a yin and yang. There's always as much good as there is evil, unfortunately. But, you got to use your own judgment. You got to use your own head as you're going, It's going with your own gut feeling and at the same time, hoping. And as long as you think positive thoughts come back. If you're thinking that the worst thing's going to happen to you, then that worst thing will happen. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. So speaking of that, have you had any scares with any people or anything come up to your tent at night?
Um, I've had a few things. I had a bear circle my tent in Vermont.
No way, dang.
But
That's
he was.
crazy.
I was pretty sure I was in his path, and he just circled my tent for about an hour, just kind of growling at me a little bit. But he stayed his distance, and I kept to myself, and we just kind of waited till he got tired and moved on. But
Jeez.
I've had a few other incidences, nothing serious. I had a group of guys pop up at my tent one morning, I think with alternative intentions, until I told them what I was doing. And one of the guys, he had just recently lost his cousin and really connected to what I was doing. And they told me to get out of the neighborhood. I was in a bad neighborhood. So I was very fortunate that what I was doing actually had a connection to somebody. And, it could have gone a lot worse if it wasn't in that sense, I think. But very
Wow.
fortunate. I also had a guy pull a gun on me in New York the same day that the guy tried to hang himself. But I was very fortunate. A police officer happened to pull onto the street, and the guy took off, seeing the cop. I found out later that it was the neighborhood I was in is actually one of the most dangerous ones of this year with homicides.
Dude, that is a crazy day. Dang,
Yeah,
you're
it's
just
like,
rolling over these things like it's nothing. Dude, that's crazy. That's a lot of crazy stuff happening at once.
well, like I said, after I got that guy help, I actually found a spot off the side of the road. It was like a little like clearing that I just happened to notice. I pulled over, I dropped my bike, and I cried for like an hour just trying to get myself like mindset right and figure out like what happened all day and like what was I even like it was I was trying to remember what my purpose of this was, and it took me an hour to kind of get back on my bike and kind of gather myself to keep going. But I did, and it's all one pedal at a time. That's kind of my slogan too, is it's everything happens one at a time. It doesn't matter what we do. So as much as we want to multitask and multi-purpose, we got to focus on one thing at a time. That's the only time. That's the only way we're gonna make progress.
Man, that sounds like a true adventure so far, to be honest. That is, I love it, man. I've been right there in your shoes at points with what it feels like to be out there. And if you want me to be honest, I suffer from depression too, and it gets pretty severe sometimes. And I use the bike as well as a refuge. But I'll ask you this, just because I've been there. Are you at all? How do you feel when you think about when the trip is over? Is it like something that scares you? Is it something that you're excited for the next chapter? Yeah, just open up about that.
You know, at first I was kind of nervous because I was like, this is only like a temporary thing. As long as I'm doing it, I'm fine. But yeah, I have thought about that. Like, what happens when I get done this? Am I gonna get bored? Am I gonna think that my life is complete? I'm looking at this more so as this is just the start of my journey, the start of my path that I've been placed on. My end goal now is I want to be able to help other people, and I want to be able to provide assistance to the people that are dealing with what I've dealt with, or even worse than what I've dealt with, or even smaller than what I've dealt with. It doesn't matter how big, small it is. I want to be able to help people. So my goal at the end of this or during this is to actually start a nonprofit, the one pedal at a time movement, actually, to get people to realize that, one, don't be so fast to close things that you think you don't like out. That's our mind shutting us out. And, obviously our mind's our biggest critic. But, for so long, I could have been on a bicycle. I could have changed my thought process. I could have not had two of my suicide attempts if I had gotten on the bicycle 5 years ago.
I see. Okay.
Because I was so close to shutting it out so fast, I missed opportunities for so long. And now what I want to do is I want to get people to realize that, there are people out there that have survived, suicide survivors. I want to get suicide survivors involved and show them how they cope and how they've moved on, and or not even moved on, but adapted and found ways to stay positive. So that's kind of where my moment goal is to get a nonprofit organization to help others. And then at the same time, after this project, who knows if I can get enough sponsorships and people that are interested in seeing it continue, it might become Ride with Dan International.
Yeah. So Ride with Dan International. Right now it's Ride with Dan USA. So what does that project look like? Or what is that idea right now?
Well, the goal would be obviously to hit all the rideable continents and land masses. But what I would do is, since I'm finishing this project in Seattle, Washington, I would start in Alaska, continue through South America, go to Africa, Europe, Asia, through Australia, and then skip over to Hawaii. So I'll hit all 50 states, hopefully, at some point in my life on a bicycle, but I'll do it around the world so that I can raise awareness for international purposes instead of just the United States.
Wow. So you're going to hit all 48 on this trip, and then the next trip you would start in the 49th and then ride around the world to hit the 50th. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it would be great. That second project really depends on if I can get enough sponsors and everything else to support that, because if I'm going to continue to do it the way I've been, I'm not going to do it with savings unless it's from donations from people or organizations to continue it. I want to show people that we can still survive and that there's still a lot of good people in the world that are willing to help, regardless if they know your situation or not.
Mm. What has it been like seeing your friends after all those years and just riding up to their house on a bicycle? What kind of experiences have that brought about so far?
Well, unfortunately, I haven't got to see as many as I'd like. I didn't see my first veteran friend until I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was supposed to see about 6 of them before that. Unfortunately, life happens. They have families, and we just weren't able to connect. But the ones that I have connected with and the ones that I hope to connect with along the way, it's been amazing. Honestly, it's like we picked up where we left off. The only difference is either they don't drink as much and I don't drink. Tomorrow is actually 6 years alcohol free for me. So, whereas when we were in the service,
congratulations.
Thank you. But when we were in the service, that was like our thing. We worked together and we drink together. So it was it's a little different, because first thing most people say is we got to go out and get a drink. And I'm like, I don't do that. and it kind of puts a damper on things sometimes, because that's kind of how people get relaxed and get comfortable with each other. But, I try to make it as comfortable as possible. I act just like I would if they've been there my entire life, and, that we haven't missed a beat in like 7 or 8 years. So it's been really a lot of great time. Everybody that I have seen, I stayed with a family that I know that I also served with, both the husband and the wife. Stayed with them for 3 weeks in Norfolk, and I got to see other friends, and not all of them, but I got to see as many as I could. So it was really great. It was really like we picked up where we left off, and we just exchanged stories, and it was just a lot of good times. And it really reminds me of why I really care about these people, and how most of the people I served with, I feel like they're more of a family to me than my own real family.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. You go through something like that together. You're bonded for life in a way.
Yeah,
that's got to be a cool experience to see them after so long.
It is. It's really an experience to see, where they've continued on. Some of them are still in the military, so where their progress has made over the course of the time that we haven't seen each other, and their advancements and, their accomplishments in the service, and the other ones that have gotten out and, just kind of picked up, kind of doing the same thing where I did, is just kind of trying to figure out how we fit in after we transition. And it's been a great experience. I'm really glad that I was able to see as many as I have, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all the ones I can along the way too. So
this is just so cool. I'm just blown away. That's such a long journey. What do you find? Yeah, man, it's crazy, but it's awesome. I love it. What do you find most difficult riding your bike every day?
For me, it's the long roads, and I know, and it's sad to say I'm only on the East Coast. I haven't made it to the Midwest yet. And there's going
Oh
to be days
man.
where I see the
Yeah.
same. I'm going to see the same mountain for 3 days before I even get to that mountain.
Yep. Yep.
But it's been that's the hardest part is just I've been down the whole East Coast almost already. I'm almost to Florida, and it gets repetitive after a while. Like you see farmlands, different farms, but it just looks like the same farms that I saw in like New York or Vermont or anywhere else. So I feel like I'm getting repetitive on my photos and stuff like that. So it kind of I'm looking forward to getting a little further south where it's more palm trees and a different kind of view. That I'm also looking forward to going to New Orleans for Mardi Gras if I can make it there in time. Just to experience the life and the heritage and all that stuff that they have everywhere. And honestly, I'm really looking forward to Colorado. I have a lot of friends there, and I miss San Diego. I lived there for 4 or 5 years, so I'm looking forward to getting back and seeing a bunch of people there too. But just the scenery itself was always beautiful, so I look forward to that.
Yeah, man, I mean, this is like a grand tour of America. I'm looking at, you're going to hit everything. It's incredible. Just to know that, I remember people used to tell me all the time, like, oh, when you go here, make sure, you don't rush, you really take time to see it. And I was always like, man, I'm going 10 miles an hour. I don't miss a beat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm on a bike. You're driving in a car.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but it's funny because you still miss so much. Like just the other day, I went and saw in South Carolina, I saw this, the old Sheldon church ruins. And it's an old church from the pre-revolution, and during the Civil War, it got destroyed again. But it's just ruins of the outer edge of the masonry, pretty much of it. But it was like magnificent. And it was crazy because when I was in Charleston the day before, one of the people that I had met told me about it. And I was literally staying I planned my camp 3 miles away from it and didn't even know it existed.
That's crazy.
So I actually rerouted a little bit. It was only like a 3 mile difference, but I rerouted so I could go see that church and the ruins of it. And then I set up camp just down the road of that. So, and that's the other part of what I'm doing is since I'm not doing it with savings, I do stealth camping. I don't typically, unless I have a good person sponsor per se, that is fortunately I've had it happen a couple of times is buy me a hotel room for a night or two. Sometimes if it's bad weather, somebody will donate towards camping. So I use the money what people ask me to use it towards instead of what I think I need it for, because I don't need anything. I have what I need, but all the extra stuff is wants. And if it's a want, then I let the people that are giving me that want ability to decide it for me almost.
Now that's about all I did too was stealth camp, and I didn't really plan out like where you're going to stay because you meet so many good people. Before long, if you're in need of like a shower or a warm bed, man, at some point, pretty soon, someone's going to offer that because that's just how friendly people are out on the road.
Yep, exactly. And there's so many cyclists out there, even if they're not touring cyclists in general. They see a touring cyclist, they get all aroused and like, ooh, what's going on?
Yeah, man, I know what you're talking about. That's funny.
So, and that's great because then you're drawing attention to yourself, which presents opportunities.
Dude, it's funny you say that. I remember riding through Savannah one time, literally right where you are, and I met this guy at a gas station, and he was a cyclist, and he was riding his bike, and he's like, man, I live like 5 miles from here. Why don't you ride to my house? Here's my address. He was riding with a group. He's like, I'll finish the ride and I'll come hang out with you. And he handed me a key to his house.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. And that happens to me all the time too. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, and I'm very thankful that they have that much trust in somebody that's cycling across the country. But like, there's times where like, yeah, man, make yourself comfortable. Obviously I wasn't expecting to be here. I have plans tonight, but do what you want, go in the fridge, whatever. And then just leave. And I'm just like, what was that dude's name? I don't even know if I got his name.
Yeah. And you're like chilling on his couch, watching TV, eating his food, and they're like totally cool with it.
Yeah. And it's great because like I said, it really has reestablished that in my own life that there's still a lot of goodness in this country and in the world, but definitely in this country where If you told me a year ago that there was this many good people, I would have probably laughed in your face. Or if I told myself, I would have been like, dude, shut up. You're lying to me.
That's probably the biggest lesson I've learned too, is that there are lots of just good-hearted, trusting, like unbelievably trusting people out there. And if the only thing you pay attention to is what you see in paper or what you see on the news, you're going to have a really, really skewed view of what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
So, man, like, I'm really glad that you're talking about your the struggles that you have mentally, and that just the thoughts and the daily challenge. What do you want to say to encourage people? Because there's a lot of people out there going through it too. And I realize that when I'm more open about it, people tend to be more open too. And so it, like you said before, it helps all of us when we're more open about it. Because I think it takes someone with a lot of courage like you to first talk about it before they're willing to share. So what would you like to share with people who might be struggling and feel like they're alone?
Well, definitely that they're not alone, first of all. Just because you feel alone in your own inner circles, sometimes that happens, unfortunately. There's people out there that are willing to help. There's people out there that don't even need to know what your story is or what your issues are that are willing to help. Sometimes it's hard to reach out, but you got to have the confidence that there are people out there that are willing to help you and that are there for you, as much as they don't know you, they don't know your situation, but they're there to help. And, that really, as long as you keep doing new things, always be willing to try new things and don't give up on it on the first try, because you never know, it might be the love of your life. Kind of like what bicycling is for me. So, it's never give up, as much as sometimes it's hard to really think past that. Be open to trying new things because it might change your life. And, that there's still a lot of good people out there that are willing to help. That's really it is. I know unfortunately a lot of people get stuck in their own heads, including myself. I've done it. I was too scared to call a hospital because I didn't want it on my record. It's better to be on your record and then finding out about it in the newspaper.
I absolutely agree with you. Be open about it, be willing to talk, because as many people that are willing to talk, there's, I bet 100 people that are in the same exact boat. They're just afraid to share, and help is right there. So man, I really appreciate you being on here. How can people follow you?
Well, so I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter as Ride with Dan USA. You can also, if you're not on any social media, which there are still people like that, you can check out ridewithdanusa.com. I also have a YouTube account, so you can see videos and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much how you can find out to me. If anybody was interested in sending emails, you can do it at ridewithdanusa@gmail. Always respond. Just give me enough time. But sometimes I don't have service.
Yeah, man, I totally get that. You got to get back when you can catch up and you get them good old internets.
Yeah. See, it's like two full-time jobs, really. You're riding all day and then you're doing your social media when you're not riding. So it really is a lot of work, but every day it makes it worth it, seeing everybody that I see through my social media and through people that I interact with that are either inspired by it to, potentially even go do their own journeys, or, inspired to figure out how to fix their own life so that they can continue on doing what they want to do and what they love to do, or figure out what they love to do. So
enjoy your Thanksgiving. Enjoy the warmth down in Florida. That's where I'm from. So I know all about it. It's a great place. It's a ways down there to Key West, but you're going to be there at the right time of year. So have a good time, man. Thanks for doing what you're doing, and thanks for being open and being willing to talk about this stuff.
Not a problem. I appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully we got an opportunity future down the road to see how my progress is made.
Yeah, let's do an update in a couple of months, man, or a little bit down the road. See how. Oh, actually, you'll be coming through Denver. Just let me know when you're coming through Denver. We'll do a live show.
Definitely will do. Yeah, because I'll be there. I'm actually going to spend some time in Denver, so when I get there, I'll be in touch.
Please do. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. See ya.